Hi and welcome to this week's video. Despite having a couple of days off at the back end of the week to do servicing on the Cub and to meet up with a friend of mine and his son who flew into our airfield, I have successfully got on with doing the stringers, at least at the front end, and recovered from the cold, so no longer lurgified. So let's see what I got up to. I've cut the bow for the rear frame and bonded that into position. There's no real complicated joints or anything, so it's just there. When I do the stringer going forward, there will be a ply section going up here, covering up the ends of the stringers to give something for the covering to really bond onto, make the width wide enough. That'll overlap this joint very slightly to help really beef everything up, tie the whole lot together as a sort of sandwich, and to make sure we haven't got that edge grain effect on the plywood. That just helps to make the plywood a little bit more weather resistant if you don't have the edge of the laminate showing anywhere. And as that's going to be the area where there's going to be the aluminium plate going around to fair in this rear section, that's potentially exposed slightly to the elements. While the glue's drying on the tail end, I've just dry fitting this the rear undercarriage mounting piece in, and I've marked where the top line is and the bottom line is, so I can cut it to the inner section of the radius for this bit, and I've also put a mark in both sides of that slot because we need to cut a section out to allow the control column to walking lever control rod to pass through. That's in accordance with the plans. There's the cutout according to the plans. I think it'll actually be 2.5 inches wide, going out to 3.5 inches wide, to allow for the control tube to have clearance going through. And unlike where it shows on the drawing, it looks like there's a step there. That will be down to flush with the flat face. Well, there we have it marked up, 1/8 of an inch from the bottom face, and it comes out at just under 2.5 inches wide. That's the same width as the slot in the bottom for the amount of movement going from side to side. And what I did was I just put 1/2 inch out either side there, giving the same effect as it is on the plan. I've centre punched these points here so I can actually drill this out, pilot drill to start with, and then 19mm on the pillar drill, 19mm, 3/4 of an inch. I'll then chain drill along here and the other side, hacksaw down here to remove the required section, and then it'll be a chunk of hand filing. And there's the chain drilling. The art of chain drilling is to have a high-speed drill on a drill press and advance it slowly, and it actually cuts, so you actually, a lot of the time, cutting into the hole next to it to make binocular shaped holes. And there's the first bit done. That's just the marks from the swarf that's not on the surface there. You just need to file that little lot back, make a nice straight line, to where it should be there, and I will radius the corners there. If it's not in the load path, it's just added weight, and there's no load path going through the corner up there, so I will radius that. There we have it, all curved, sanded down and cleaned up. A fair bit of radius this edge is here because the tube is going to go through by there, but I've yet to try it all out And before I do, I'm going to do a sort of semi-marked on here, a square. I'm going to cut out a piece of plywood, 8th ply, to go around the hole here, and I'm going to mark up the piece of nylon and get this little lot sort of sorted out so I can actually bolt the nylon on. There's the doubler section going around here, just being bonded in so that the nylon insert can be bolted on the top end there. The undercarriage support piece will go down here. It'll have 2 holes in it, slightly inset as much as I can, but so that the screw heads won't interfere with the tube in any way. So they'll probably be pretty much in line with that lot there. One there, one there. As I said, if the nylon bows too much, I can always put a bridge piece in. I've already cut out the nylon, so here's our section of nylon. It's 532 thick, 4mm, and I've drilled the holes here to match those on the piece of ply. As you can see, I haven't drilled these ones yet, and you'll see I've sort of drilled to the corners, but this lot will just need to be dressed out to give the full range of motion. It's just slightly smaller. I thought I'd leave that until I've got everything all together, and I can then just file that out a little bit as necessary to get the ranges as needed. There's nothing on the plan showing any rear supports. Let me show you. If you look here, there are the supports there, and there's no supports at all showing down the back end here, and it'll need them. That's a long run, and the 3/4 would just by quarter will just flex here and be pulled by the covering inwards and things like that. So there will be, I'll be making up some plywood standoffs to glue onto these cross members, and to terminate it doesn't really show, it just sort of has it sort of faired in, but because I've got the tail wheel sort of sticks out quite a chunk, that block, what I've done is I've putting a piece of triangular, or piece of strip here to sort of taper to where it is, so I can actually keep virtually the full thickness of the stringer here. I think it'll keep it nice and pleasant looking going forward, and then that will be encapsulated with a little plate section to help make it nice and beefy and strong. I just think it'll help fair in that tail wheel assembly. There's the ply section cleaned up a little bit. I've just radiused the edge here because the control column will be coming through. I've drilled through the holes, and I've used my gripper pins to hold the nylon onto the back of here, so it's drilled right the way through, everything's sort of match drilled. And there are the holes. You can sort of see they're just slightly in line with the corners, just to give a bit more support. So with the control column in place, there is a clearance there between the undercarriage, cross beam and the tube, which is what I want, and there's no chance of it vibrating against things. But the mistake I did make, if you can sort of see, you can see I didn't bring the nylon back enough or forward enough to act as a stop. It's still using the wood as a stop, so I'll have to remake that nylon insert to get the so that it's acting as the stop rather than the wood. But that's minor. I've got this as a pattern now, so it'll make it really easy. We all make mistakes somewhere. I thought I'd made it small enough to be good enough, but obviously not. This forward one is interfering with the tube. The rear one there is okay. There's clearance. It gets a little bit I suppose it's got about an 1/8 inch clearance all the way along, but this one hasn't, so I've just drawn on a sort of arch there. I'm going to get that dressed back so that it has the clearance. Got to allow for a little bit of movement as well, vibration in the rod and things like that. We don't want anything chattering and putting stress raisers on life, so I'll make it so it's got a clearance. The inner edge of the stringer marks are on the front here. I've marked on here, hopefully that's what's showing where the feet of the standoffs are going to go, and I've sanded cross grain across the ply, having cleaned it up as normal. So we've got good bond there, here and here, and there's the improved clearance using a barrel sander just to get that sort of shape. So we've got the clearance there now. I'm just going to bond these in, and the little block at the back end. It's one of those sort of mad things. It's slow because it can't really bond it all at the same time and put the stringers on it all in one go. I'm going to bond these little pieces in to start off with, get them sort of reasonably well cured, and then I can start laying on the stringers. Here are the reply pads, just to make sure that the undercarriage U channels are straight. They're sort of shown on the plans in various places for, you know, wedging the sections there. And excuse me a second, I'll just slot this all in. So all I did was here lay this rule across the top there, so you can sort of see it's flat on this rear member, and this is what we've got on the front. So you can sort of see it just needs jacking up a little bit at the front edge. So with the wedges in, it says, just stick that wedge, I just sort of stick a wedge in there. You can sort of see now that it's sitting level there. Cut the stringers to an angle that will suit, but to allow it to get round quite a tight radius here, actually I can release that a little bit, get round quite a tight radius here. I want it to, you know, to be radiusing down from that point there down to here, so we've got nice sort of radius going down there. That's so tight that if you try and do it without steaming the wood, it'll crack, it'll just shatter. So I've soaked basically that section there in boiling water, and or pouring boiling water over it, and got radius curve block here. The height from the bottom to the bottom of the notch to the actual base of the fuselage there is around 40 millimeters. This is about 45 millimeters in width, and so it just allows a little bit of sort of spring back, and there's a slight gap there which is less than 5 millimeters, which allows for the taper down here. So with this now set up and clamped, I'm just going to let that dry while that lot cures. So hopefully tomorrow I'll be able to glue the stringers on to the 3 points there and the very front here, and that will allow me then to start working out what's going to go on further back. After the bending, leaving it in the form, with a fan heater blowing over it to help dry it all out as best I could, and swapping them over halfway through. The percentage moisture was low enough and they were holding just about enough shape for them to be fitted. Well, in line with the Warner Brothers cartoon, that's all, folks. Well, for this week anyway. We've got the stringers reasonably set up for the front half. Got to do some work for the rear half. Some of the work done for the undercarriage and stuff. So I'm pleased with what we've done. Bit of a shame I've got to do a rework on the control column stop, but I've got the plastic to do that, and it's not a hard job to get that bit sorted out. So next week, plan on getting the rear end of the stringers sorted out if I can, and make up something hopefully to go over the top of this lot for an inspection, so I can get in and undo and do up bolts and bits and pieces down here once the aircraft's covered. We'll see how that goes along. Bye now. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the thumbs up. You can subscribe or even hit the little bell notification for future videos. Any comments would be appreciated, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. Remember, go fly and feel the sky.